The inevitable end of our life is something we as humans struggle with. Some want to go peacefully in their sleep. Others want to go out in a blaze of glory. For most of us, however, there is no control in how we die. For some of us, our death may even make history. Here, for your consideration, are the most unusual deaths of the 20th century that I could find, as ranked by me. You may know of others that should be on this list, and you can dispute in what order they should have appeared. What you can't argue with is that they are indeed bizarre. Counting down from 10 to 1, here they are. Number 10. A Sweet Way to Die. The Great Molasses Flood of 1919. 21 different people. Imagine walking home from school when all of a sudden the earth shakes. A sweet, delicious scent fills the air. A truck goes hurling past and lands in the bay behind you. Then all of a sudden you're trapped in a sticky substance that pulls you along the road, completely out of control. This is exactly what happened at about 12:30 p.m., January 15th, 1919, Boston, Massachusetts, around the Purity Distilling Company at 529 Commercial Street, near Kearny Square. Molasses at this plant was fermented to produce ethanol, the key ingredient in alcoholic beverages and also used for munitions. The days prior to this one had been cold at around 2 degrees Fahrenheit, but on this day the temperature was rising steadily and had gotten above 40 degrees Fahrenheit. This could have led to a rapid expanding of the fermenting liquid. Whether it was the expanding fluid or poorly made storage tanks, the results were horrific. Waves of molasses as tall as 25 feet high rolled down the street at 35 miles per hour. They tipped a streetcar over and even swept buildings off their foundation. Several blocks were flooded to a depth of 2 to 3 feet. Molasses is about 40 times thicker than water. Some of the people that were caught in the waves were lucky enough to survive, but 21 people, along with more than a few animals, such as horses, were not able to escape the sticky sweet touch of their impending doom and perished in the flood. Number 9. A Safe Death. Jack Daniels. Yes, the Jack Daniels. If you've ever drank alcohol, especially in the US, you've probably heard this name a time or two. Considering that Jack Daniels Tennessee whiskey sold 12.5 million cases in 2017, it wouldn't be a surprise if one of the people listening was drinking it right now. Mr. Daniels whiskey took off in popularity after it won a gold ribbon at the 1904 St. Louis World Fair. But we're not here to talk about the whiskey. We're here to talk about the man, or at least how he died. Old Jack Daniels always had a problem remembering a safe combination, and would have one of his secretaries open it for him. He arrived early to work one day in 1911, before anyone else was there. He was trying to open the company safe and began to get frustrated at it, so he gave it a kick. The toe later became infected and the foot gangrenous. The infection spread, and on October 10th, 1911, Jack Daniels died of blood poisoning. Maybe he should have poured some whiskey on his wound to kill the infection. Number 8. A Smell to Die For. Jonathan Capewell. Personal hygiene is a must. No one wants to be the stinky person at school or in the office. But is it possible to take this too far? Jonathan Capewell, age 16 from Oldham, Greater Manchester, found that out in 1998. His parents said that he would use spray deodorant and body sprays at least twice per day. Over a course of months of spraying these on himself multiple times per day, in a small, not well-ventilated room, it turned out to be the end of him. Butane and propane built up in the young man's body to a lethal dose. Autopsy discovered he had 0.37 milligrams of butane per liter in his blood, and the same amount of propane. 0.1 milligram per liter is considered fatal. By his parents' report, he would use these products so much that even downstairs you could not only smell it, but taste it in the air. There was no evidence that he was abusing it by inhaling it intentionally. At only age 16, Jonathan suffered a heart attack. This occurrence is so rare that at the time, no one had heard of accidental inhalation death from aerosol deodorant before. Number 7. Doggie Domino Death Chain. Catchy the Poodle, Marta Espina, Edith Sola, and an unidentified man. In what can only be explained as a series of unfortunate events, or even a domino effect in Cabalita, Buenos Aires, a poodle named Catchy fell 13 stories. The poodle hit 75-year-old Marta Espina, killing both on impact. 46-year-old Edith Sola rushed to see the incident and was hit by a bus which killed her. Then, an unidentified man had a heart attack after seeing Edith get run over. He died on his way to the hospital. Number 6. Who says it's the best medicine? Basil Brown, Alex Mitchell, and Tina Christofferson. These get combined because they are all normally healthy activities taken to the extreme. Basil Brown from Croydon, England, was a health food advocate. In 1974, he died at age 48 from liver damage after he consumed 70 million micrograms of vitamin A and almost 10 US gallons of carrot juice over 10 days. His skin became bright yellow before he finally died. If you want to do the math, that is 7 million micrograms per day. The recommended daily amount is 900 micrograms per day. That's just the vitamin A he took, not to mention the additional vitamin A he got from the carrot juice. Alex Mitchell passed away in 1975 after watching Kung Fu Caper's episode The Goodies. He laughed continuously for 25 minutes straight before he fell dead on his sofa. Cause of death was heart failure. Years later, it was determined to be from a genetic condition called long QT syndrome. His granddaughter was the source of this discovery when it was found that she had the same condition. Laughter, it turns out, is not always the best medicine. Tina Christofferson died in 1977 when she religiously drank 4 gallons of water per day for an unspecified time period. She did this out of fear of dying from stomach cancer like her mom had. She would go on long fasts where she drank nothing but water. This taxed her kidneys to the point that they couldn't expel all of it, and fluid was pushed into her lungs. She was known to be very smart, and her IQ was recorded at 189. Her fear overrode her high intelligence, and at age 29 she drowned on dry land from overconsumption of fluids. Stay hydrated, my friends, but don't forget to eat as well. Number 5. A Silky Death. Isadora Duncan. Angela Isadora Duncan was an American dancer much loved in Europe. September 14th, 1927 in Nice, France. Duncan left a party with Benoit Falchetto, a French-Italian mechanic. It was chilly out that night, and Isadora's friend, Desti, had urged her to wear a cape while riding in the open-air vehicle because of the cold night air. Isadora refused and instead donned a long, flowing silk scarf. The scarf was draped around her neck and eventually got caught in the open spoke wheel and axle in the rear. She was pulled from the vehicle onto the hard stone pavement below. Her neck was also broken by the scarf, and by some accounts, it almost decapitated her. She was taken to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. Isadora was cremated and then entombed next to her children in the Columbarium Père Lachaise cemetery in Paris. She was 50 years old at the time of her death. Number 4. Dreams Do Come True. Thornton Jones. We all know dreams can't hurt you. They aren't real. The worst nightmare will fade away once you wake up, and even though you might be shaken, you know everything will be all right. This wasn't the case for Thornton Jones, a lawyer in Bangor, Wales. In 1942, Thornton woke up one day to find his throat had been cut while he was asleep. He motioned for paper and pencil and then wrote, "I dreamt that I had done it. I woke to find it true." Mr. Jones died 80 minutes later. From what everyone could figure, Thornton had slit his own throat while unconscious. An inquest in Bangor later determined he had died by suicide while temporarily insane. Some dreams really do come true, but this is one I think most of you would not like to see in reality. Number 3. Dead Drunk. Michael Malloy. June 1932, Bronx, New York. If drinking was a profession, then Mr. Malloy would have had a job. As it was, he was unemployed and spent most of his time in the speakeasies. One in particular, owned by Tony Marino, who offered unlimited credit to Malloy, was his favorite spot. Unbeknownst to Malloy, Tony Marino, Joseph Murphy, Francis Pacqua, Hershey Green, and Daniel Kreisberg had taken out a life insurance policy on him. They tried to cash in on his life multiple times initially by adding antifreeze to his liquor, but Michael Malloy would drink those and ask for more. Next, they substituted turpentine for antifreeze to no avail. Mr. Malloy drank those happily as well and didn't suffer as much as even indigestion. They went from turpentine to horse liniment, which still had no effect on Mr. Malloy. Rat poison in his drink didn't even faze him. The group of would-be murderers were beginning to understand why Mike's nickname around town was Iron Mike or Mike the Durable. Oysters soaked in wood alcohol, and even rotten sardine sandwiches with metal shavings didn't off old Michael Malloy. Clearly seeing that nothing the man ate or drank would kill him, the group decided to wait until he passed out one cold winter night. They then took him to the park to let him sleep in the snow in sub-zero temperatures, and for good measure poured 5 US gallons of water on his chest to freeze him solid. They were flabbergasted when he came in the next day looking for his free drinks. One of the conspirators owned a taxi and ran him over. That did nothing but land Mike in the hospital for 3 weeks with some broken bones. Finally, on February 22, 1933, once Malloy had passed out for the night, the group took him to Joseph Murphy's room and put a hose that was connected to a gas line down Malloy's throat. He died within an hour. Malloy was buried shortly after, and the group thought they had gotten away with it. Once the police heard the rumors of Iron Mike, they got suspicious. They exhumed the body and found evidence of foul play. The group of killers, dubbed the Murder Trust, were arrested. Green went to prison while the others were sentenced to death. Those 4 got the electric chair at Sing Sing Prison in Ossining, New York. Kreisberg, Marino, and Pasqua on June 7, 1934, and Murphy on July 5, 1934. The doctor that had signed off on Malloy's death certificate was held as an accessory after the fact, and his bail was set for $10,000. Number 2. Sweet Kiss of Death, Frank Hayes. Imagine winning your first ever horse race. Normally, you'd probably be excited and want to celebrate. For Frank Hayes, it was a different story. June 4th, 1923, Frank Hayes, a horse trainer and stableman by trade, was riding the horse Sweet Kiss at New York's Belmont Park. Frank had never won a race before, and being a 20-to-1 long shot, he wasn't expected to. At some point during the race, Frank had a massive cardiac arrest and died on the spot. His body, however, remained in the saddle. Sweet Kiss managed to come in first by a head, practically blowing away the competition. Hayes' death was not noticed until after the race, when officials came to congratulate him on his victory. Some speculate it was the excitement of pulling to the front of the pack along with his extreme and quick weight loss he had done to be able to race. He had rapidly lost weight from 142 pounds to 130 pounds in only a matter of days. Hayes was buried in colorful riding silks 3 days later at Holy Cross Cemetery in Brooklyn, New York. It's also said that Sweet Kiss's nickname from then on was Sweet Kiss of Death. The horse never raced again. Frank was 35 years old at the time of his death, and also the first, and so far last person, to win a horse race while dead. Number 1. Mummy's Curse, George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon. Lord Carnarvon was an enthusiastic amateur Egyptologist. He often spent his winters in Egypt with his wife buying antiques for his collection back in England. In 1914, he was granted permission to fund a dig in the Valley of the Kings. He planned to start excavation of nobles' tombs in Deir el-Bahari. Howard Carter was given the lead in the dig, while Lord Carnarvon funded it. The excavation was interrupted by World War I and didn't resume until 1917. For 4 years, nothing of significance was found. In 1922, Lord Carnarvon thought that it would be the last year to explore that spot. Then, on November 4th, 1922, Carter sent this telegram to Lord Carnarvon. "At last, we have made wonderful discovery in valley. A magnificent tomb with seals intact. Recovered same for your arrival. Congratulations." The official opening of the tomb was supposed to be held on November 29th under the supervision of the Egyptian Department of Antiquities. On the 26th and 27th of November, however, Carter, his assistant, Lord Carnarvon, and Lady Evelyn made several unauthorized visits inside the tomb. In one of their visits, they found the inner burial chamber of Tutankhamun. It was guarded by 2 life-size statues, but there was a small hole in the doorway. Carter, Carnarvon, and Lady Evelyn crawled through to see the tomb. On March 19th, 1923, Carnarvon suffered a severe mosquito bite that became infected after shaving. On April 5th, he died from blood poisoning that led to pneumonia. Was it the curse of Tutankhamun, otherwise known as the Mummy's Curse? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle suggested Carnarvon's death was a result of elementals that were manifested by the guard statues before the inner tomb. According to reports, Lord Carnarvon had been laughing and joking before entering the tomb. Perhaps his lack of solemnness offended the ancient Egyptian ruler. Either way, his death was suspiciously close to when he entered the tomb. Coincidence or ancient curse? There is no way to truly know. Carnarvon was age 56 at the time of his death. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment below and let me know which one was the most unusual or frightening of all for you. Also, don't forget to leave a like and share with your friends so they can catch up on some morbid history. Have a great day.